about innovation, about expression, about connection. We've heard from founders, from technologists, even from constables. But I'd like to bring another voice into the room, and that's nature. Nature has been innovating for billions of years, and if we pay attention, it can teach us how to do the same. I'm lucky enough to work with amazing conservation teams around the world with the Nature Conservancy. 2 years ago, I was working with a group in Whakatu, Nelson, on a challenging problem. Heavy storms were causing hillsides to collapse, sending debris into rivers, choking them with sediment, and damaging homes and infrastructure downstream. You can see it in this devastating image from the Tasman District Council. The pine forests on those hills were part of the problem, economically valuable, but environmentally harmful. Local iwi received some of this land back through treaty settlements. They inherited the land and the problem. They wanted to transition some of these problem areas back to native forests, but the economics didn't work in their favour. Tricky challenges like these aren't unique to Nelson. Globally, we're facing challenging problems where the solutions aren't obvious and the stakes are high. In fact, I'm sure many of us have faced tricky challenges where the path forward isn't that clear. So to address these challenges, we need innovation. We need novel, lasting, and impactful solutions. Over the years, I've realized something important. Innovation isn't just some flash of brilliance or the work of a visionary few. It's a culture that can be cultivated. It's about how people work together. I believe everyone can be an innovator. I believe everyone can create the solutions the world needs. And our best teacher? It's been here all along. Nature offers us wisdom that teach us how to innovate. Today, I'd love to introduce you to these 5 teachers. Each reveals something essential about cultivating innovation, not as a one-time spark, but as a sustained capability. When we applied these in Nelson, it led to the development of ideas that are now being tested. So let's dive in, starting with diversity. In farming, polycultures, where there's just one type of plant in a given area, are vulnerable. One disease or pest can wipe out an entire crop. But in polyculture, different plant species grow together, creating more resilient systems. Deep roots access water, while shallow ones capture surface nutrients. Some plants fix nitrogen, others deter pests. The diversity makes the whole system stronger. This pattern shows up in teams too. Researcher Terry Egan found that teams with varied skills, perspectives, and knowledge are able to generate a broader range of ideas because they're drawing from different cognitive resources and approaches. For example, I worked with a team in Mongolia who brought together national park authorities, rangers, and non-profit partner organizations to work on the visioning for a national park. Their different perspectives helped them identify criteria that can influence how national parks are modeled across the country. But diversity alone isn't enough. You need connection. And that's definitely not the first time that you've heard that today. Under every forest is a network of fungal threads called mycelium. Research by Dr. Suzanne Samad and colleagues shows that these networks connect trees by moving resources between them. A young tree struggling in the shade might receive resources from mature trees nearby. The whole forest thrives through this connection. Teams work the same way. When knowledge can flow freely, insights reach the people that need them. This sharing not only strengthens the capacities of individual team members, but Terry Egan's research also shows that it supports the team in generating more novel and complex solutions. So here's a photo from a team we work with in China, focused on natural climate solutions. This team comes together monthly to share their progress and their learnings. In conservation, when knowledge can easily get stuck in silos, these regular connections help them to adjust their course quickly and accelerate their progress. Polyculture teaches us to build diverse teams. Mycelium teaches us to connect them. Next, let's think about murmuration and shared vision. So if you've been lucky enough to see starlings murmur, you know it's remarkable. You may have seen this in person, or maybe it's come up in your Instagram feed. But thousands of birds move as one, twisting and turning in coordination. They're all oriented towards shared goals of survival and navigation. Researcher Konstantin Andriopoulos found that when people understand how their work connects to an overall vision, their motivation and their creative contributions increase. Aligning creative efforts towards a common purpose creates coherent innovation rather than disconnected ideas. When China shared its plan to establish 49 national parks across the country, which is the largest network proposed globally, 5 conservation project teams came together to align on one collective strategy. Here's a photo of the real team we were working with. Understanding how each project connected to the bigger picture didn't just increase coordination of the work, but it increased their commitment to it. The whole became more impactful than the sum of its parts. But here's what many organizations miss. They align everyone around the vision of only a few, those at the top. Researcher Amandine Ramos finds that European bison herds make decisions about where to move democratically, finding that when it's time to move, each adult herd member stands and faces the direction that they prefer. Oftentimes, the herd moves towards the majority. Every adult herd member has a voice, not just the dominant ones. Organizations work better when decision-making happens at all levels, because those closest to specific problems often have the most valuable insights for solving them. Research by Konstantin Andriopoulos also finds that flatter organizational structures encourage the ownership and autonomy that are important for innovation. My team practices this through bottom-up leadership. Everyone on the team has a say in strategic decisions and objective setting. I find this structure particularly empowering as I get to exchange learnings from the Asia-Pacific region, which differs from the cultural contexts of Africa and Latin America, with my team so that we can collectively inform the path ahead. So murmurations teach us about aligning around a vision. Herds about inclusion and buy-in. Finally, the environment matters. Walk through a natural landscape and you'll notice variety. Rolling hills, sun-drenched clearings, dense forest groves, quiet spots tucked away. Nature doesn't create uniform spaces. Neither should we. Researcher Olamaya Hanna found that open spaces encourage communication and collaboration. Private areas support focused work and flow states. And common areas promote knowledge sharing, which if we remember back to our mycelium and how important knowledge sharing is among teams. We can even mimic this virtually through full group discussions and breakout rooms. In one of my university courses, the professors changed the layout of the classroom every single day. Sometimes set up for individual work, sometimes for collaboration, sometimes in a spiral. This pushed us to work with different people and consider different perspectives. The space shaped how we thought. So varied landscapes teach us to design spaces intentionally. Let's bring this back to Whakatu Nelson and the group solving the challenges associated with rotational pine forestry. They brought together diverse perspectives, Indigenous knowledge and stewardship, scientific expertise, policy understanding. They aligned around a shared vision of reducing environmental harm while maintaining economic viability. Every voice had a say in shaping where the project went, and they worked in an open space with good natural light that enabled different ways of thinking. The result was deliberate innovation. They landed on ideas such as sediment mapping, improved carbon market incentives, and native forest regeneration that are now being tested. Here you can see some of these efforts with native planting in the foreground and that pine forestry in the hills on the background. Innovation comes from intentional choices about how people work together. The research supports this. Nature's patterns aren't just metaphors, they're practical. Polyculture teaches us to build diverse teams, mycelium to connect knowledge, murmurations to align around vision, herds to distribute decision-making, and varied landscapes to design spaces intentionally. I hold that if these principles are valuable in conservation, one of the most complex and uncertain fields there is, they can work in your world too. So the next time you're faced with a complex challenge, I invite you to turn to nature, to notice. Nature has been our teacher for a long time. We just need to pay attention. Thank you.